heck is that thing? It's been spotted over Phoenix at 2 different times by 2 different people. We'll talk to both the witnesses tonight.
Step into the newsroom tonight at 8 on 3TV, Arizona's Family.
To talk about some video that happened daytime.
Yeah, Mike, as you know, we do get a lot of strange videos here at 3TV, and we get red dots, blue dots, all shiny objects, all kinds of stuff in here. But this one, well, just take a look.
Like right here, this is where I zoomed in for, I think the first time. And you can definitely see it. It has a humanoid shape to it.
When Rich Giordano says humanoid, he means it. Humanoid
means it could be either man or something like a man, as we perceive a humanoid being, humanoid shape. It's got a human, it looks like a human. Could be a human alien.
Giordano was in his North Phoenix backyard just 2 weeks ago when he saw it moving overhead.
It's got to be balloons. I always think balloons first anyway. So I grabbed the binoculars and looked up and noticed it was humanoid looking. And the object is moving north, probably at a walking pace. It's really slow. And when I had it on the tripod on the camera, you can see that the object's going in a straight line. So it's not bobbing or meandering around. It's got a purpose. It's going somewhere, and it's going in a straight line.
He says the video doesn't do it justice, and he might never have told anyone, except for one thing.
And there's only one other guy who has something like this, and it's, Jeff Woolwine.
I noticed this object that seemed to be leaving the mountain.
We've met Jeff Woolwine before. He spends hours every day scanning the skies and the mountain in South Phoenix for mystery objects, and he gets a lot. But this one, captured in April, is really bizarre.
It seemed to climb up at a kind of a high altitude, roughly about maybe 1,000 feet. I don't believe any balloon would be walking in the sky like that, and it actually changed directions. It was going west there for a while, and then it seemed to make a U-turn and start to come right over the apartment complex.
Woolwine calls it a tadpole, a shape he found not only in the sky, but also in a book about ancient Hohokam petroglyphs on South Mountain. Petroglyphs he's seen with his very own eyes.
That's telling me that the prehistoric people that first settled here in Phoenix more than likely saw these things in the sky also, and the only way to record this was to carve it on the rocks.
Could this object really be an extraterrestrial visitor? Some think it might be a test flight, someone flying a jetpack. Others think it's a set of balloons. Rich Giordano captured something very similar a year ago, and he's still scratching his head in wonder.
I just get excited. It's just like getting ready, it's like you're going on a roller coaster and you're about to go over the first hill. That's what it feels like. It's like you don't know what's going to happen next.
Could be anything, but you can see this story again on our website, azfamily.com. Check it out, see what you think. When I hear the word humanoid, that really kind of freaks me out.
Oh, it's some kid that had a balloon at the funeral.
Thank you. Hey, welcome back. Welcome back to the Petroglyphs in the Sky UFO show. I'm your host, Jeff Woolwine. Great to see you guys back again. Boy, do we have a great show for you tonight. Okay, so first of all, we're going to talk about these humanoids, these humanoid entities that have been flying over Phoenix ever since I first discovered them back in 2005. And then I brought this information to the UFO community. And because there was a new sighting, a new sighting out there that just happened about maybe a couple weeks ago. And we're going to talk about this sighting that my buddy out there in Phoenix, Ken Howie, he filmed a light over his recording studio. And so we're going to show that. We're going to talk about that. And back in, doing all this, I started this research. I was a native of Phoenix, Arizona, born and raised. I've been seeing these things in the sky ever since I was a kid. And, back in 2004 is when I really started, trying to figure out what was going on. And I first started off with the Phoenix Lights in 2004. And out there on the east side of South Mountain. From there, I went on in 2005, and I moved closer to South Mountain, and I started getting these day shots. And what I was getting wasn't spaceships, it wasn't crafts, it wasn't little gray guys running around. It was something different. It was something that seemed to be alive, that was not really, like organic give or take, but something that was alive. And I soon realized that these things that we're seeing in the skies today, as far as the Phoenix lights, and these red orbs, these orange amber orbs, and these things that we see in the daytime, actually were carved by the Hohokam Indians over 1,000 years ago. And I proved this many years research. I did 20 years research on that Phoenix Mountain out there, now known as South Mountain, formerly known as Mount Sepoa, Mountain of Mercy. Because this is where the Native Americans from all over the nations used to gather at this holy mountain. South Mountain is the name now today in Phoenix, Arizona. And they gathered there and they watched the Phoenix lights. They watched these spirits of the earth and sky. And they recorded their sightings because they didn't have video cameras back then. They didn't have, cameras back then. They had stone boulders to record their sighting in certain places around the mountain and around the earth, if you will, on where this event took place. So what we're looking at is prehistoric photographs, if you will, of what had happened back in the day. And it's talking about what we're seeing in the skies today, as far as the Phoenix lights and as far as what we're seeing in the skies in the daytime. And I was going into this thinking spaceships, I'm going into this thinking crafts, but the petroglyphs and my own experiences seeing these things on a regular basis taught me that this is not spaceships technology that we're dealing with here. These are living entities. And I was the first one in 2005 to bring this to the UFO community. I first wrote an article for the UFO magazine. Then later on, I did many news reports talking about these things in the sky connected to this rock art, connected to these petroglyphs. And from there, it went on to the pilot of the UFO Hunter Show, currently on the History Channel, and also the Ancient Aliens TV series. And then later in 2007, I actually did the History Channel and talking about my discoveries, that these things are living entities, that these things have been recorded before. And I was the first one in the United States not only to document this, but to match these things with the petroglyphs on the mountains around Phoenix, Arizona. And looking at these glyphs also around the world. It's the same story. It might be told a different way, but it's the same story. It's the same carvings. And you know what? Sometimes it gets a little freaky because it kind of looks like it's the same artist, right? And that's where it really gets weird, It's the same artist from all over the world carving these petroglyphs, these things that we see in the skies today. And this is the reason why I call my show and I call my book Petroglyphs in the Sky, is because that's what we're seeing here. We're not seeing spaceships and not anywhere on these mountains around Phoenix, Arizona describes a craft, carving a craft. Crafts are not relevant here. These are living entities. These are Quetzalcoatl. These are flying serpents, and that's what we're going to talk about today. So we're going to give out some shout outs to my sponsors here, and I'd like to give a shout out to Cyber Scams of Australia. You guys been wonderful helping me out here, and my website is right below that blue sign there, that p9.hosting.com/petroglyphsinthesky.com/. Now, if that's too much for you, Cyber Scams of Australia has created a link with petroglyphsinthesky.net. All right, that's a lot easier, and that will direct you to my website. It will talk about the Phoenix lights. It will talk about the petroglyphs. It talks about the first, the real history of what Phoenix, Arizona is. Now, not only did I put two and two together that these things in the sky are connected to the rock art, but I also dug up what hasn't been talked about in the last 80 years, the true history of Phoenix, Arizona. You won't hear this anywhere else. This is the only place that you will hear this type of information. And I can back it up. I have backed it up. I did 20 years research on the mountain, hiking the mountain, watching these things, learning the petroglyphs, finding the tombs. there are tombs on South Mountain, okay? And then later on, about a year later, I'm in the Phoenix Downtown Public Library, and I'm at the Arizona room. And they asked for the folder on South Mountain in Phoenix, Arizona. They gave me this folder, I opened it up, and bang, what does it have inside? But it talks about and it shows the first park ranger of South Mountain. His name was Charles Holbert. Charles Holbert. And from there, he was the first park ranger in 1930s up until the late 1940s. Now, the Native Americans at that time, they trusted Charles, and they told Charles how sacred South Mountain was. And they taught him about the tombs that are located on South Mountain, and taught him that the spirits of the earth and sky were there watching these tombs that holds gold in them. Okay, I have verified this. I have dug up the story. I have proven this. I've had investigators come check me out. All right, and they say, well, dude, you know, if I find something that's wrong with you, then I'm gonna come talk to you. But if I don't see anything that's wrong, that you know, if I verified something that you're correct at, I'm not gonna talk to you anymore. Well, that's what happened. This investigator was investigating me, and I proved pretty much everything that was going on as far as what I was saying in my work, my credibility. And you know, I haven't heard from him since. He said he was going to call me during the weekend. Never called. I don't know what happened to him, but that just tells me that yes, my stuff is credible, and I can prove it. I can prove it. And so not only in the Phoenix Library, but also in my book. In my book. And so yeah, let's give a shout out to my publishers real quick. Neely Worldwide Publishing, excuse me. And you know, I don't make any money from this. I'm not in it for the money. I'm not in it for the fame. Okay, I'm in it to get this information out. This is the correct information on what the Phoenix Lights is. Not some lady wannabe out there trying to sell movie tickets, you know, saying, oh, the Phoenix Lights was some massive craft. You know, there's no evidence of this. You know, selling books, selling movie tickets, you know, and talking about nothing. Okay, some wannabe lady out there, I don't know who she is, but some lady's out there doing this. Okay, that's not what it's all about. It's about the history of Phoenix that I have dug up and have proven and have verified. And so, a lot of people in this field are out to exploit the lights. Okay, they're trying to get famous, they're trying to make a buck. All right, that's not what I'm all about. I have told the publishers to give my proceeds to the foster kids in Phoenix, Arizona. So I'm not seeing a dime out of this. I haven't collected any dimes. You know, I do tours on South Mountain. Sometimes people give me donations. That's all good. I give them to the homeless people. You know, as soon as I get off the mountain, I see a homeless guy. I give them the money, dude. So it's not about the money. It's not about the fame. It's about the information. Okay, so it's about the information, and if I can do it, you can do it too. And this is what it's all about. I bring you if you can't get to South Mountain, then I bring you the mountain and you the true stories of Phoenix, Arizona through my book. So yeah. Okay, let's get this party started. So first of all, we're gonna talk about Ken Howie. Okay, Ken Howie. This guy's a good friend of mine. So he has a band out here in Phoenix, and it's called Empire of Desire, right? And they rock. They fucking kick ass, dude. And I was just so happened to be privileged to jam with them a couple times in their studio, and it was fun. And since then, boy, I'm telling you, they kick ass. And you can find them on YouTube, and you can find them on the shows that they do around town, around Phoenix, Arizona. And here it is, Empire of Desire. Okay, and these guys rock. Check them out. Check them out. And let me know what you think, man. These guys just kick ass. There's just, you know, I can't get enough of this. You know, these guys rock. Ken Howie rocks. His wife is a singer. She rocks. All the rest of the guys, the keyboard player. It's all good, man. It's great. It's great. And Ken, this guy here, he's the one. Now he filmed about, let's see, maybe about a year ago, maybe a year and a half ago, give or take, there was a flying entity, a flying humanoid over his studio. And he sent me, he contacted me, and he sent me the video, and it was great. It was really cool. And so this really basically what happened again, with a light. Now this time it was a light that was hanging over the studio. And we actually were privileged to have him actually record this light that was over the studio. And I want to give a shout out to Ken and say, dude, that was awesome, brother. You did a great job. This light here is over the studio in Phoenix, Arizona. He said it hung there. It hung there for about maybe close to an hour, give or take, and then it kind of just slowly went up into the sky and kind of disappeared. So this is the stuff that we're looking for here in Phoenix, Arizona. Not only Phoenix, but around the world. Okay, we're not looking for spaceships. We're not looking for crafts. Okay, I just, this stuff that you see on cable televisions and things like this, like Ancient Aliens and things like that. No. They're not really being truthful with you here. I mean, they want you to believe that these are, spaceships and crafts, little guys running around. There is no evidence of that. I can't find one evidence of any of that. What can be proven? I go with facts. And what can be proven is the rock art. The rock art that we find, the biblical scrolls that were written anywhere from 3,000 to 6,000 years ago, and also the text from the Anunnaki, if you will, the Babylonian text. Okay, those talk about what's really here. It says some left and some stayed here. Does it say some left in a spaceship? Does it say some left in a craft? No, it just says some left, some stayed behind. These are the ones that we're seeing in the skies today, are the ones that are left behind. And it says that these things are supposed to return one day when the public needs them, when mankind needs them again one more time to survive. And that's the key. And you can find this information in my book. But check out this light that Ken filmed. Isn't this great?
Zoom out.
Ken did an awesome job filming this thing.
Crazy lights in the sky above the studio here.
And this is what we want to look for. We want to look for lights in the sky. We want to look for orbs and, just weird-looking things. Something that might kind of resemble a balloon, but doesn't act like a balloon. And that's how these things are getting away with being in our skies. It's because some people mistake them as balloons, because they have been brainwashed and told wrong that spaceships is what we need to look for. It's crafts and what we need to look for. And I'm sorry, I haven't seen one credible video of little gray guys or spaceships, crafts, anywhere. I can't find any proof of this. I see a lot of hearsay. I see a lot of people trying to sell books. I see a lot of people trying to make money off this stuff. And I can't find any proof. The proof is what we're seeing in the skies. And this is orbs, this is lights, this is worms, this is snakes, this is Quetzalcoatl, things like this. Just like what the Native Americans were seeing back in the day. Not spaceships, not crafts, but living entities. Thanks, Ken. You did a great job filming that thing, man. Keep kicking ass on your band. And I'll give a shout out to your band, and hope everything's going well for you guys. And whoops, anything and everything can happen when you're doing live shows. Okay, so a little technical difficulties.
A couple of lights below it.
And we're back. Okay, we are back in the skies today. Okay, we're back on the air. So. Anything, and don't you just love live video? I mean, just when shit happens, it goes down and everything happens. Okay, so let's try to fix this so we can get on with the show. Okay, we are back in business. Okay. All right. Thanks again, Ken, for filming that. Okay, so we're all back. We're ready to go. And so let's take a look at some petroglyphs. Now, these petroglyphs are here in Phoenix, Arizona. And here, this one describes what some Indians, some Native Americans, looking up at a flying serpent. Do you see this here? Not a craft, not a spaceship, but a flying serpent. Okay, a flying entity, if you will. This is on South Mountain. Here's another one. Now we see a lot of these throughout the world, and it's talking about these flying serpents. It's talking about these living entities, not spaceships, but living entities. Damn. And here we go again. Okay, I can tell it is going to be one of those nights. Oh, jeez. All right. Okay, so that is what we're dealing with here. We're dealing with what is carved on the mountains of Phoenix, Arizona, and also, you know, your mountains around the valley. Now, what I suggest, if you guys are going to go out there and start looking for UFOs and start hunting these UFOs, I would find out the history of where you guys live at. Find out what the Native Americans say. See if there's any mountains around there that have carvings, petroglyphs on them. Now, not all petroglyphs are talking about these UFO entities, okay? Some of them, it depends on what kind of mountain it's carved on. Now, some of them describe ceremonies like kachinas, or, you know, some of the Native Americans actually went out, you know, and depicted a deer eating grass. And hey, that's all good. You know, that's really cool. And so not all mountains are talking about, you know, these UFO entities. The mountains that you want to look for to have the carvings on them are the ones with the spirals on them. Okay, now spirals represent doorways. Okay, doorways for these spirits of the earth and sky. Okay, and it's talking about when the spirals are clockwise and they end like down, chances are they'll end at a crack. Now, most of you that have been watching my shows in the past, you know, you see the spirals, how they end in a crack. Well, that's the doorway. That is where the doorway, and that's where the entrance point to the underworld. That's what the Native Americans say. That's the emergence point to the underworld. And so, or if it's not the crack, then it's that ground right there. It's that whole area where the boulder, where the spiral is carved at. Now, if the spiral ends up, then we're talking Phoenix lights. We're talking these things just appear in the sky, okay, and then they stay there for a little while, and then they disappear. So there's a vortex, there's a door in the sky where these things are coming and going from. And it looks like, because Ken is getting sightings over his music studio, that he's got a vortex. He's got a vortex right over his studio. So, you know, I'm sure he's going to see more, and it's going to be great, you know, if he sends me what he's got, and we'll talk about it, we'll show it, because I know he's going to see more. So I know he's on his game. I know he's watching the skies, and so that's what we all need to do. We all need to pay attention, okay? Not looking for crafts, but looking for something a little bit different, like these orbs or serpents and things like that. So if the spiral ends up, there's a vortex in the sky. So that's going clockwise. Now, if the spiral is going counterclockwise, that's a doorway out. Okay, that's a doorway out. All right, so they're coming out of that vortex, or they're coming out of that crack on the stone or the ground. Now, sometimes I've found two spirals, one going in, one going out. So there's a doorway in and a doorway out. Okay, and so what is the why is it attracted? Why are these beings attracted to these holy mountains? Well, I know by South Mountain and the mountains around the Valley of the Sun that these mountains were created by fault lines, by volcanoes. Okay, and these fault lines generate energy. Okay, and it just so happens that on the east side of South Mountain is a major power plant that's bored down into these fault lines and is collecting that energy to turn on the Phoenix light, or turn on the Phoenix lights, that's true, to turn on Phoenix, Arizona's power, if you will, not lights, but power. Okay, in 2004, these entity lights, these Phoenix lights entities, were absorbing the energy over that power plant. Okay, I have documented this. The whole summer of 2004, I watched these entities, these Phoenix lights, above that major power plant. Okay, and they're absorbing the energy. Now later on, when I was doing my investigations in the Phoenix Library, I found a map. And it showed where all the Holocoms used to live around the Valley of the Sun. It showed the canal systems, it showed the Hologons and the structures and everything else. And it just so happens that where this power plant sits today on Ray Road on the east side of South Mountain was the city for the Holocoms. Okay, that was the major spot where everybody lived at. So that's telling me that these Holocom Indians wanted to get as close as they could to their spirits, and I'm sure they probably thought these things were gods at the time. And so they wanted to get as close as they could to their gods. And so they built a city in a place where a vortex was in the sky and was attracted to these certain energy spots around South Mountain. So not only the fault lines has a lot to do with it, but also the position of the sun. Okay, so in my investigations, in my 20 years of research, right, I was the first one to come up with this secret, to come up with this idea, to verify this occurrence. Okay, so I'm living in 2005. I'm living by South Mountain on the east side, about a mile and a half away. And I noticed on certain months, these things were here. They were coming and going from the mountain on the east side, and in certain months they were gone, okay? And I noticed that it coincided with the equinox and the solstice, all right? And I learned that when the equinox and the solstice is coming around, like for instance, January, February, March, April, May, June, July, okay, August, up until about August, that is like these hot times to see these entities. These UFOs, these creatures, are here in our skies on those months, okay? And then after the equinox and after the solstice, they seem to go somewhere else. This is the reason why sometimes, I have sky watchers around the world that contact me, and they're seeing them a lot these few months, and all of a sudden they're gone. They won't see any for many, many months until after the equinox and after the solstice. Then they start to come back. They're following the energy. When the sun moves across the sky through the seasons, they're aligning with these fault lines around the Earth. Okay, so basically what these entities are doing, they're following the sun around the Earth, collecting and absorbing the energy around the Earth on these seasons, on these months. Okay, so we see them here in Phoenix. Now they're gone. They're over there in Iraq, or they're over there in Florida, or they're over there in Jerusalem, or Russia. All right, then after the solstice, they're back over here now because the sun has moved. So this is a secret, and I verified this. The first year, it was like, oh, wow, this is cool. They were here, here, here. They're gone, gone, gone. They came back here, here, here. The second year, it repeated itself. The third year, it repeated itself. The fourth, the fifth, the sixth. This has been going on for at least over 1,000 years. This isn't anything new, but this is something else that I've discovered, and I want you to go out there and investigate. Check it out for yourself. So this is how you can predict. Where to find these things. So let's take a look at some of these entities. Okay, so here's one that me and my wife Pam filmed on South Mountain. And I called it Quetzalcoatl because what it did actually, is it came out of a light. There was a light in the sky. I believe this is the video. Okay, here we go. So this entity came out of a light. We first see a light in the sky. You can barely see it. It's like a little dot. See that little dot right there? See the dot? Then all of a sudden, look at that. Look what just happened right there. It went black. This thing came out of that light. Here it is. Here we go. This thing came out of that light, and it looks like a serpent. It looks like a snake. Okay, it looks like the feathered serpent that we see in Mexico, Quetzalcoatl. Look at that. Here, I stop the footage and I zoom in. Look at this thing. This is what we're dealing with. Now, we filmed this, what, last year, a year before, maybe a year and a half ago? Can't remember. But we were on the mountain, and I looked up, and I saw this light. And so I started recording it. And out from this light came this creature, out from the light, out from this vortex doorway. And I continued to film this thing as it was coming kind of towards us, but going off to the left of us, over some other mountain hilltops. Look at this thing. Look how it changes. It changes shapes. Okay, so this is what we want to look for as far as the rock drawings on the mountains here. So spirals are one that we want to look for, and another type of carving called anthropomorphs. Okay, the archaeologist likes to call these things anthropomorphs because they're morphing, they're shape-shifting. They like to take the shapes of animals. They like to take the shapes of snakes. They like to take the shapes of humans, okay, and orbs and flying crosses and crooked snakes and things like that. So they call them anthropomorphs because they're morphing in the sky. Now this is interesting too because later on, look how when it morphs, all of a sudden it looks like it's got a head and it's got its arm on its waist and it's got like these antennas. Now many of these petroglyphs that we see around the world, also on South Mountain, depicts some of these anthropomorphs, or some people like to call them lizard men, okay? And they have these like horns, or some people like to think that they're antennas, okay? But that's not it. Here we go. Look at that thing. Look at that thing. See that? See that there? Look, he's got his hand on his shoulder, and he's got some legs, and he's got a head, and it does look like he's got some horns there. And as he cruised across the sky, I ended up losing him. But that was filmed just a few years ago on South Mountain. Here was one that I filmed. We just missed it. We just missed the beginning of this. But I filmed this in 2005. This came off the mountain. And right before it did, it actually took the shape of a carving on South Mountain. And when the video replays itself, I'll show you. But also, as this thing starts to ascend in the sky, there's an airplane. There's an airplane that comes relatively close because Sky Harbor Airport is right close to kind of South Mountain, and that's where this entity was kind of heading. So you can see it shape-shifting. Okay, this thing came off the mountain, and when the video replays itself, you can see it, leaving the mountain. And this is going right past my apartment complex here. You can see the mountain in the background there. You can see the mountain. I believe the airplane will be showing up here very soon. I'm watching the airplane. This is what I'm doing now. I'm watching the airplane. I'm like, dude, that thing is going to fly right next to that airplane. Okay, so I'm going to see if I can get this on film. And their airplane, there's the airplane. the jet goes awfully close to this thing in the sky. And it really, makes me wonder, if the passengers saw this thing in the sky. Probably not. They probably weren't paying attention. And that's how these things get away with being in our skies, is because people are not paying attention. Right? So you need to look up, because these things don't cast shadows. Right? They don't make any noise. Okay? You just have to look up. Right? And if you see something interesting in the sky, try to get your video camera, not a cell phone, because cell phones, sometimes the quality isn't that good. You can't zoom in very well. You really want to use a video camera, right? And I carry a video camera with me all the time. Now here's when I was doing a show with Jim Rogers out there in Tucson with his co-host Kyle Dayton. Okay, so here we go again. So here's the beginning of the video. I mean, here's, you can see the petroglyphs. Right? You see that crooked snake there? This is when I knew I was correct. This was the holy grail of my sightings connected to the petroglyphs. Because there again, there it is. Look at this. Look what it does. That is the exact same formation that was carved on South Mountain over 1,000 years ago, and no one else has ever recorded this before, besides the Native Americans on the rocks, the carvings. Look how it changed shape there. Now it's just like a black dot. See that? Look how it moves in the sky. Look how it shape shifts, okay? Isn't that interesting? This is what we want to look for. A lot of people might think, oh, it's a spaceship and it's changing shape because it's a craft. No, okay? These things are alive. I thought these things were crafts going into this, and then all of a sudden, once I started seeing them and noticing what these things really were, I soon realized that this was not spaceships, this was not technology, that these things were kind of alive, and they knew who who was watching them, and they knew who wasn't. And this is how they're getting away with being in our skies, because people are not paying attention. Here's a petroglyph here that I forgot to actually talk about. So here's another example. This is on South Mountain here. So over here to the left of us, we see this guy. Okay, we see a stick figure man. Okay, and it looks like he's got four arms. Okay, and he's got this staff. And he's shooting at a humanoid type of serpent in the sky. You see that? You see what's going on there? Now over here to the right, we have another bow and arrow guy, and this, unfortunately, that piece of the panel is missing. But over here, we have more serpents. We have more serpents over here, okay, in the sky, all right? And these guys over here, there's a bow and arrow guy, and he's kind of shooting at these serpents. We have coyotes there looking up at these flying serpents, okay? We have these coyotes on this line looking up at an orb, okay? And then we have a guy over here in the middle. He's holding a spiral doorway, okay? And then these guys over here to the left, and he's got this like flute, if you will, and he's pointing in that direction. So the petroglyphs, one way to understand the petroglyphs is not just look at the art, but you have to look at the whole landscape. Because the artist is trying to put the whole landscape in with the art, okay? So it's telling us a story, all right? And he's including the landscape with the art. So, for instance, so if you see this boulder and it's got this serpent, right? It's a snake, and he's got like two pyramid, like his body is two pyramids, all right? All right, so you want to step back from that boulder and look at the mountain peaks behind that boulder. Lo and behold, you will see the exact same thing. You'll see these two pyramid peaks behind the boulder with the serpent that has the pyramid peaks in it, and it's talking about the pyramid formation of mountains behind that rock. Okay, so that's how you want to interpret these petroglyphs, is because the artist is including the whole landscape here. One way to find some of these stories, okay, sometimes the coyotes, when you look in the direction of where the coyotes are looking, you want to follow that direction. You want to follow Because if you follow where the coyotes are looking, he will lead you to the next story. Sometimes deers are the same way. This guy over here to the left of this panel, okay, next to that guy holding the spiral there, he's got this flute or maybe blowgun or type of weapon, but he's facing to the left of us. All right, so to the left of this panel, the CCC, the Conservation Corps, blew up that panel. They did a lot of devastation in the early 30s and late 30s and into the 40s before World War II, and they were blowing up petroglyphs. And you can find more of that in my book and in my research there. So yeah, that's how you understand what the rock art is talking about. Here we have another type of entity I found in 2006. Now this came off the mountain also. Now I'm caught right in the middle of it, but eventually the video will replay itself. And look how it's changing shape there. Look how it's changing shape. It's not moving like balloons. It's not acting like balloons. This thing is on a mission. Okay, so in the beginning of this video, I found a carving, and so did the archaeologist. The archaeologist wrote this book about the petroglyphs, and he leaves out a lot of stuff. You know, he leaves out, you know, the tombs on South Mountain. He leaves out the Mayans. He leaves out the spares of the earth and the sky. I mean, he leaves out a lot of stuff. But one of these petroglyphs, they call it the devil, and that's exactly what this entity, when it left South Mountain, exactly looked like this petroglyph called the devil. And you know, I think because of what I've discovered here, all right, and because it has been not talked about in 80 years, because of the tombs that are on South Mountain, because of the altars that are there on South Mountain, because of the whole history of South Mountain. After Charles died, after he died, all his information was tucked away and buried and not talked about for 80 years. And this is the reason why no one understands what the Phoenix Lights really is, because this information was not talked about anymore for 80 years. Even the archaeologists won't talk about this, but yet the proof is there. You can find out in my book. You can see the altars that you can see the altars that I've discovered out there. You can see the tombs that I have discovered out there. You can read on my website how Charles Holbert was in charge of protecting these tombs and talks about what actually happened to the Hohokam, what happened because the Mayans were here along in Phoenix with the Hohokam. Talks about the gold, talks about everything. All right, now after his death, this was all buried, tucked away in a folder in a Phoenix library for the last 80 years. And I was the one that came along and uncovered this information and bring it back. I resurrected this information and bring it back to the public, right? Because this is the true history of Phoenix, Arizona. This talks about what the Hohokam were, who they were, what happened to them, and it's all documented by the first park ranger, Charles Holbert. Right? Now, Charles Holbert, he was the man back in the day. You know, not only just in Phoenix, but also around some of these other states. Some of these other, like libraries and stuff like that. And it talks about Charles Holbert. So he was the man. Okay, here we go. Look at this here. When this thing leaves the mountain, look at it. Okay, look at the way it shapeshifts there. Whoops. Don't you just love live shows? Look at that thing, okay? Look at that entity. Look at that thing there, okay? It's like a type of flying, like serpent type entity. So, once I discovered all this, everything was all fine and dandy. I'm doing cable shows, I'm doing news reports, okay? Up until, you know, I actually found out what was really going on. And once I did, that's when everything stopped. Okay, so I discovered something that was not talked about in 80 years and is just too much for people to handle, all right? And it's really unfortunate, you know, because, I mean, I have discovered something in great value. I've documented it, I've proven it, I can back up my stories, all right? A lot of people can't. You know, a lot of people can't. They just, you know, they write this book on crafts and this and that. They don't have no proof. The proof is in the petroglyphs. The proof is I'm uncovered in the Phoenix Library with Charles Holbrook. Okay, and it's sad because some of these either there's a conspiracy going on, whether they just don't want to give me credit for what I've discovered. Okay, because it's so good, it's so perfect. It explains what the Phoenix Lights is. It explains what the holocron were. It explains what happened to them. It talks about the tombs. All right, it's so perfect that they don't want to talk about it. They don't want to give me the credit for. But when you look on the internet, you can find out all my information on the internet that I was the first one to start doing this investigation in 2004. I then brought the attention to the public eye, to the Ancient Aliens, to the UFO Hunter Show, to the History Channel, that these things are alive and it's not crafts. You know, that these things are like living entities. They're like serpents. All right. Even when I was doing the show on the History Channel, they told me, now Jeff, don't go saying entities, don't go saying angels, don't go saying spirits. They're like, you're filming some bizarre stuff and the public is not ready for this. This was told to me in 2007 when I was doing their show. They said, if you're going to talk about these things, you need to say spaceships, you need to say crafts. And I'm like, dude, what is the deal here? You know, just because, you know, you guys aren't ready for it, you know, don't erase my discoveries here. Don't try to, you know, make it seem like Giorgio from Ancient Aliens discovered this. No, I was the first one to do this. I was the first one to prove this. All right, and it's unfortunate that these cable shows and some of these other TV shows they know who I am. Everybody in this field, and that's important, knows who I am as far as cable shows and all that. Everybody knows who I am, but nobody wants to talk to me because I have discovered something that is kind of taboo, that is hush-hush, and the public isn't ready for. But now because of my work, all right, because of my videos, and I got ridiculed, I got people telling me, dude, you're filming flares, you're filming balloons, all this bullshit, right? But I stuck with it because I knew I was correct. I knew I was right. And you can't argue with history. I got Charles Holbrook backing me up. I got the Native American rock art backing me up. I got my videos that's been analyzed backing me up. All right, everything that I have discovered here, I can prove. All right, so it's not hearsay. This is real shit. All right, I was the first one to do this in 2005, and because of my videos, now everybody, years later, now everybody is starting to recognize these things in the sky. And they're filming flying serpents. They're filming these flying entities. And I've got a lot to talk about. So, okay, so this one was filmed in Phoenix. Not sure who it was. I tried contacting these one people. They didn't get back with me. But this was filmed in Phoenix recently. And here we can actually see the things that you know are carved on the rocks, and it's not a spaceship here, okay? It's not technology. These things are alive, right? These things, they know, man. They're understanding. These things, you know. Another secret that I'm going to tell you is these things are not from another planet. They're not from Alpha Centauri, okay? This is their planet also. This is their home also. A lot of people don't realize this yet, but this is their home also. They've always been here. They were probably here before us. Okay? In my book, I explain what the Native Americans told Charles Holbrook what the holocrons were doing and acknowledging these beings in the sky and what they were here for and what they were doing and what their purpose is. I'm not going to talk about it on the radio here, on the TV show, okay? But it talks about it in my book. It verifies it on my website. You can go to my website there and you can check out what Charles Holbrook, what the Native Americans at that time told Charles, because through generations upon generations upon generations, these stories were told. From one Native American family to the next Native American family, and so on and so on. And from that was told to Charles. And from Charles, he put it in his documents. He told people about these spirits of the earth and sky. He wasn't afraid to say that the mines were here in Phoenix. He wasn't afraid to say that the gold was here. And that's what the kind of the downfall was to it. And so in a way, I can understand why they're kind of keeping this hush-hush, because they don't want people going back on South Mountain and start digging up the tombs. Okay, but what I think we should do is acknowledge that there are tombs there and at least open one. Open one tomb. Okay, we need to get the archaeologists involved in this. We need to get ASU archaeology involved with this. We need to get the media involved with this. Okay, this is proof positive. I have discovered tombs out there. Charles Holbrook, the first park ranger, talks about the tombs out there. Okay, I have found at least 4 of them. Here's a serpent that I filmed in 2005, leaving the mountain. Here's another entity. So let's just go ahead and look at these. Look at what's going on here. Let's take a look at these videos here. And here you can see the flying serpent petroglyph there. Okay. And here he is. Oh, there's another picture that we just talked about. That we just talked about. This is what's in our skies, folks. These things that you see in the skies today. This is what we're seeing in our skies today. All these were filmed in Phoenix. There's my wife Pam. She's all checking out Quetzalcoatl. She's checking out the snake. She couldn't believe what she was seeing in the skies. She could not believe what she was witnessing. But yet, here it is. This is what we're dealing with in the skies of Phoenix, Arizona. Not only Phoenix, but also around the world, and quite possibly in your neck of the woods. So yeah, you know, if you guys see something, all right, message me. I get a lot of emails, I get a lot of messages, and you guys have some petroglyphs you all want me to take a look at and to just decipher for you. Please send them my way. And if you send me a UFO sighting, if I like it, we'll talk about it on the air. And so yeah, let's take a break, and then we'll come back to it.
Have you picked up your Phoenix Lights Petroglyphs in the Sky, True Stories, Myths, Legends, and UFOs over Phoenix, Volume 1? Learn about the lost history of Phoenix, Arizona. Learn about the petroglyphs carved on a sacred mountain, now known as South Mountain, that holds the pass to the Phoenix Lights and the UFOs over Phoenix. Pick up your copy today. Phoenix Lights Petroglyphs in the Sky, True Stories, Myths, Legends, and UFOs over Phoenix, Volume 1. Find it on eBay, Barnes & Noble, and any source where books are available at.
You are watching the Petroglyphs in the Sky Ultimate UFO Show with your host, Jeff Woolwine. UFO sightings that match Native American rock art from long ago. Only on the Petroglyphs in the Sky Ultimate UFO Show. Tell your friends.
Okay, well, thanks for joining us today. And make sure that you like my YouTube channel, Phoenix Lights, Petroglyphs in the Sky. And make sure you follow me. Find me on Facebook, Jeff Woolwine, Petroglyphs in the Sky. And check out my book. The proceeds go to the foster kids here in Phoenix, Arizona. And, make sure you smash the like button. Make sure you follow me. And please share the video. Get this information out. All right? Don't be fooled with all these other people. I'm the real deal. I can back it all up. Look for me on the internet for the past 20 years. I'm real credible, and so make sure that you follow me and message me, contact me with your UFO stuff. I'd love to see it. So without further ado, we're gonna say goodnight, and you guys take care.
Until the next exciting episode, keep your eyes in the skies. You never know what you might see.